G might be kind, but we are live. So, hi
Yes,
all.
let's go.
So, this is a very different episode of your Outcasted OC. This is the first ever pop culture. I failed at saying pop culture. Come on now, that's not a great way to start in this genre. But as you can see, it's myself and Rhys, and we are doing something very, very different, but as another major passion towards ourselves. We are going to be talking all things Star Wars, revolving around what happened with Star Wars Celebration Week, and all things that have happened in the TV series and everything going forward at the current moment. So, Rhys, to open up, how did you think about the announcements at Star Wars Celebration?
Oh my God, there was so many announcements as well, and I'm really jealous of the people that actually got to go as well because they got like a load of exclusives, but I'll get into
Yeah,
that in a moment. Like, one of the main things I'm excited for is obviously the Ahsoka trailer, but
yes.
the announcement that they're finally bringing back some movies to the Star Wars universe, like it's totally just blew me away the fact that number one that we're getting three that got announced
Yeah,
like in
yeah.
three different eras, amazing, and also the fact that they're coming back in general. Like, yes,
Yeah,
please, like it's been way too long. Okay, like yeah, the Rise of Skywalker wasn't the best, and not a lot of people, you know, was into it. But that doesn't mean we have to cut off Star Wars, okay, guys? Jesus, I mean, I love
exactly.
TV shows, but come on.
Yeah, exactly. And I feel like with the resurgence of the Star Wars TV series, it was only fitting that they go the direction of, hey, maybe we start doing movies again. We've done them before, we made them work, and everyone loves The Mandalorian. Everyone's loved Andor. We could bring that to a big screen. I like, for me, the big shock announcement, and I, I know not a lot of people are going to be like, oh, that's not really shocking or anything. Them saying Andor was getting a season two. And the fact of they've stated Andor season two, the last episode will literally cut off going straight into Rogue One. And I'm like, that is a perfect way to do a season two and your final season because for anyone who's a fan of Rogue One, you get the perfect beginning story, you get all your extra content to enjoy, and then a great finale of a movie as your last episode, technically. And I think that is fucking genius how they've done that.
I would definitely suggest anyone who's not watched Rogue One to maybe even wait off watching it
Yeah,
until maybe Andor like season two comes out because, like you said, that works as like a really good like last episode
yeah,
for you. Like for me, Andor last year really missed the mark in a lot of episodes. It was 12 episodes and I want to say they did like three different arcs or like four different
yeah,
arcs.
yeah,
Like you had episode one, two, and three that covered something. Four, five, six, seven, eight, nine, 10, 11, 12. But for me, them arcs could have been put into one episode, and it could have been an eight. A bit like the Mandalorian. It could have been like an 8-part series.
yeah,
Um,
exactly, yeah.
and for me, like Andor season two, I'm surprised it's getting a season two. First of all, because it had very mixed reactions. But second of all, like it really needs to hit the mark for me this time, especially if it's going to take place literally before Rogue One. I mean,
Yeah,
Rogue One worked so well because it was so well written. It also was so good because it was one of those situations where it totally went in a different direction to a normal Star Wars show where it introduced all of these
100%.
new 100 and it introduced all these new like characters and then got rid of them all in one film.
Yeah, this is what I was gonna say. Like the thing I feel Andor lacked was the same scarcity of the characters of just you don't know how long you're going to see this character on screen. With Rogue One, you literally got invested with them, and then you were like, "Oh, they're snapped out of my fingers." With Andor, there was none of that really. They were like, build, 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 and then didn't really get to the end point until right near the end. Like, especially as you said with like episode one, two, and three. I think they were some of the best openers to Andor because it explained literally the start of Andor. It explained everything they were planning on doing. It explained obviously the corrupt like government groups who are not caring at the moment and built that storyline up. But then they kind of just stopped it after like episode four for a little bit. They were like, we've just had them literally land on a planet, fuck up their missions, and now they've panicked and kind of ran away, and that's all we're going to go with it. Like they flew off to another planet. Like it
Exactly.
took it takes you away from it like really badly.
It was so odd, but mainly just because, like you said, it had a really great opening. You had a really cool introduction to Cyril Khan, like for me, who was a
Yes.
very, like he was one of the most important characters in the first couple of episodes, and then he kind of did nothing for most of
Yeah,
the
exactly.
series.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I was trying to say. Of like, you had such interesting characters slapped in straight away, and you were like, okay, we can see where they're going. To then they kind of just cut it off and stopped it. Whereas in Rogue One, they well writ them. They showed why they were introduced, what they were going to do, and then the only reason they were cut off is because they were genuinely offed on screen, like they died, which made Rogue One that perfect suicide mission story. And I get Andor is the build up to that, but you can't have a build up of this amazing mission, all these people you're going to go on, without having the factor of they know the trouble they're going into now. And Andor felt like it didn't really deliver that 100% for me.
Well, for Andor, for me, I thought it was a very weird direction that they decided to go into because in Rogue One, he was sort of designed and created and like put in your face as he was the rebel who sometimes went a little bit too far, like a Saw
Yeah,
Gerrera, or like had to do horrible things to get information for the Alliance and stuff like that. And in Andor, you didn't really see any of it. There was 3 episodes where he was in a white prison, and it was
yeah.
boring as hell. There was 3 episodes where he was sat on a goddamn farm, and I was like, why am I here watching this guy sat on a farm? And then there was 3 more episodes where I don't even remember how it ended. I don't even remember. I'm being genuinely serious. Where I literally, apart from the whole speech from his dead mother on that massive
Oh,
hologram,
that
I
was really
couldn't
good
tell you
though.
how it was great. But I couldn't tell you the definitive ending to Andor. I honestly, genuinely, dude, cannot remember. I don't know.
I
Like
understand that.
someone like it was so just non-direction, and it really annoyed me because like Andor could have been so much more, and this is what the season 2 needs to be.
Oh yeah, definitely. Like my whole thing of saying like it's a big shock that Andor's getting this is because done right, season 2 will be perfect for Andor because of that season finale going into Rogue One. Because you've set a pedestal up now. Because honestly, in my personal opinion, Rogue One is probably one of the better Star Wars movies that came out around the era of we're going to try different, you know, freaking Star Wars movies. And they were like, oh, here's Rogue One, a very unique take on what is about to happen with the older movies.
I agree, and like here's the thing for me, right? You had the Force Awakens come out. I love the Force Awakens. I
I
thought
think
it was a
Force
fun.
Awakens. I think it's one of the better of that trilogy as well. It set up a lot of
Not even
interesting
that
things.
trilogy. Not even that
Oh,
trilogy. It's for me. It's one of the best Star Wars films. Like there's, obviously
wow.
got a channel. It's got a channel. I've got a channel covering Star Wars, and like I did a ranking on all the Star Wars films, and The Force Awakens like came quite high in my ranking. I think it was nearly in the top 5. Like it was.
Damn, you put it in
I
top
love.
five.
Dude, it was so good when it first came out, and like going back and watching it, I
Sure.
think it's great. I think the introduction of all the characters, I thought Finn was so interesting. I thought Rey was interesting. I loved the Millennium Falcon coming back with Han
Yeah.
and Chewie. Poe Dameron was a badass. Kylo Ren was cool in The Force Awakens. Snoke was still a mystery. We had no idea what it was all
Oh
about.
yeah.
I thought so
Why
well
the
put
hell?
together.
Why the hell did they drop the ball on Snoke so hard as they did? Like, hey, here's this really mystery Sith entity that kind of makes you think it might be Palpatine, reborn, and then they go, "Oh, here's third movie. Here's all of Palpatine's clones. You were kind of
Well,
right, but we kind of ruined it."
I remember all the speculation being that it was Plagueis, and I was like, "That's cool if it is Plagueis."
Yeah, same. I
Um,
remember that.
so the Force Awakens for me ranks high, dope, and then Rogue One comes out, which by the way, also in my Star Wars rankings, I believe is I think it's like number 3 or number 2
Hell
of Star
yeah!
Wars one.
I'm glad we're on the same
Um,
agreement to that.
yes. Then the Last Jedi comes out, and I come. It's funny coming out in the cinema. I was like, whoa, that was cool and weird at the same time. And then I watched it again. I was like, actually, this sucks hard.
Yeah,
It sucked. Um, which then for me affects the next film that came out, Solo. I thought Solo was amazing. And because of The Last Jedi, it got I think for me it got kind of crapped on. Like just because like people wanted to boycott it because how they felt about Star Wars at the time.
yeah,
For me, Solo was very good. And I think if it didn't have the name Star Wars on it, people would appreciate it more because it's a heist movie in
yeah.
space. Come
See,
on.
I love Han Solo for kind of what you just explained there of it being a heist movie in space. For me, as someone who loves space westerns, because Cowboy Bebop exists, and that was like one of my favorite ever animes when I was really young. To see kind of that translated into a Star Wars universe with one of my favorite Star Wars characters in Han Solo, I was like, this movie has everything done right. Why are people hating on it? Like, shout out to Donald Glover as well, because that man played Lando
So
so
well.
good, so
Yeah.
perfect. He had like the whole poses, he had the whole demeanor about the character. Like he really embodied Lando Calrissian, and I thought that was one of the coolest things to see a younger version of him. Because I literally said this to my dad, who got me into Star Wars. I was like, I'd love to see the younger side of them. I'd love to see their teenage years, how they got involved in the space and everything.
Yeah, exactly, dude. And then I think Star Wars or the Star Wars fandom shot himself in the foot in a way because at the end of that film we got a cameo of Maul,
Yeah,
and we never got to see what came of that because it was supposed to be a solo too, and I think tragically we're never going to get it, and it's a real shame, and I think it 100% deserves it. Um, by the way, Tobias Beckett, dope character, I loved it. Did a very
yes,
good job. Yeah,
yes.
a really cool character. But that's my opinions on like the Star Wars film. So like going back to the original point, I'm glad we're getting one
Yeah,
around the time of the Mandoverse, and the best part is Dave Filoni is in charge of it, and as it always should be. I'm just happy that it's actually going down. And for those who don't know the specifics, apparently it's taking place 15 years after the events of the Mandoverse. So I'm assuming if there's going to be a Mandalorian season 4, it's going to be taking 15 years after that. So in this timeline of Star Wars at the moment, we are 9 years after the events of Return of the Jedi. So obviously, if we put another 15 years on that, we got, it's a long, long time after Return of the Jedi, and it puts us right in the middle of the events of Return of the Jedi and The Force Awakens. Now,
yes.
because of it, if Ahsoka has anything to say about itself, with Thrawn being around, is he going to be around for the film? Or are they going to introduce another big baddie to fill that movie? I honestly don't know because it's a hard situation that, in my opinion, because if Ahsoka doesn't have a banger of an ending where something cataclysmic happens, people will be disappointed. At the same time, your boy wants to see Thrawn in a film,
Oh, you
so
you you know exactly the same as me. I'd love to have Thrawn in full picture, like a full movie setting. I think that would be perfect.
I think it'd be even more perfect as well. Not just because he's an amazing character, but also the fact that Lars Nicholson is playing him in the Ahsoka show. And
Yes.
if anyone doesn't know who Lars Nicholson is, he was the voice of Thrawn in Star Wars Rebels. So if you know Star Wars Rebels, you know who Thrawn is, and you know what Thrawn sounds like. And now he's playing him in live action. And by the way, I'm jealous of the people at Star Wars Celebration because
Yeah,
they got to see a camera facing version of Thrawn instead of just like the back. And I'm very jealous. And apparently, he looks amazing as Thrawn.
that's awesome. The thing I was going to go, let's go straight into that then, because we spoke about Star Wars Rebels. How do we feel that Ahsoka's trailer very much showed the ending of Star Wars Rebels in the animated series, fully continuing on, and especially one of our favorite Rebel characters? Did you notice her riding a certain speeder that she was?
Oh, Dude, I was so hyped when I saw like everything. Like
Yeah.
just to touch on the fact that we are getting the live action version of the ending of Rebels. In my opinion, might be controversial. My favorite Star Wars animated show. Like I thought it.
Oh,
Yeah, dude. Like I think I mean I love Clone Wars, but I think the last two seasons of Rebels is some of the best like TV like in Star Wars that you will ever see. As soon as Maul joins Rebels, like Rebels just
yeah.
goes up and up and up.
True.
Like
True.
honestly, man, like after like Twin Sons, the episode's dope, and then obviously get the whole Kanan thing, which is one of the saddest TV episodes of anything I've
Oh
ever seen. I
man.
literally cried so much when I seen that. The whole journey of Kanan and the whole of the Spectre team, amazing. And then like the ending of Rebels, where they talk about Hera fought in the Return of the Jedi at the end of the Battle of Endor. Obviously you got Jason, you got Jason Jarrus, whatever his name is, like Jason Sindula. That's his name. God damn it, I was thinking of
Yes.
goddamn
Yes.
Hera's.
I was
Yes,
trying to think then when you were saying it. I was like, who?
yeah, I was trying to think of his name, like Kanan's son. I was like,
Yeah.
oh my god, that's annoying. Why can't I think of it? And then you obviously get Sabine, like graffiti and the whole of
Yeah.
like the Rebel squad, like, and then Ahsoka's. But so here's my thoughts on Ahsoka.
Mhm.
Now, in the trailer, we don't see her wearing the white robes
Yeah.
of
I was gonna say that as well. Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm wondering when that scene takes place. Does that scene take place a couple of episodes into Ahsoka? Because as we know, she isn't wearing white robes in The Mandalorian or the
Yeah.
Book of Boba Fett episodes. She doesn't look like she's wearing them in the Ahsoka show, and then all of a sudden in Rebels she's wearing them. Like, what happens to where she's wearing the white robes, and what does that even mean? I mean,
Yeah.
obviously, I think we'll get those answers.
A lot of people are already speculating it's going to be either white as a sign of respect for someone when she's gone to a funeral to someone, or she's gone to pay respects to like a church or of the Jedi temples or something, and then it's all gone down. That's what a lot of people have been saying, or it's her speaking to some of the high courts, because obviously we're getting, is it Acolyte that they're calling it, Star Wars Acolyte, where it's
Yes,
gonna,
yeah.
where that's gonna talk more about like the government body of Star Wars and like the Republic, and they apparently are also going to talk about multiple different bodyguards, because apparently it's meant to be very martial art heavy. So I'm interested to see what goes on there.
That's what I've heard. And also the fact that Acolyte, and that's what they used to call the old Sith, like the
Yeah,
people
yeah,
who were under the Sith. But what makes Acolyte interesting for me, just to touch on that for a sec before we go back to Ahsoka, is Acolyte doesn't take place that long before the Phantom Menace. Like I
yeah,
think it's only like 400 years. And in between that, like so you go from the High Republic, which is about 600 years before Phantom,
yeah,
Acolyte 400 years before Phantom, and then Phantom Menace. That's an interesting period of Star Wars because we don't really know what happens in canon now. I mean, obviously in Legends we know a lot what happened with the Rule of
yeah,
Two. Like we can pretty much track it quite well, all the way up until Plagueis and Palpatine. So I'm interested to see if there are actually any Sith Lords in Acolyte at the time, like working through the Rule of Two. How is our character going to become an acolyte of the Sith or just a dark side user in general?
yeah.
I would love to see how that's being implemented. And will this tie into the Ahsoka show? Because
That's yeah. That's
we're
what I
seeing
was going
dark
to
side
say.
users.
That's what I was going to say. A lot of people are saying Acolyte will kind of be like a hand in hand help to the Ahsoka series, because it'll give more context to dark users and how kind of they are. Because if we take from Ahsoka as well, there was one specific Sith user with a very unique saber that me and you both kind of like instantly like, is it him? Because if we're going off what our theories are, the way he fights, the way he walked, it comes across way too close to be him.
And this is it. Like, and I don't understand why they're changing his name.
Yes.
I,
This
I
was what I
think
was
it
going to
was.
say.
Do you know what? If it walks like a duck and it quacks like a duck, just call the duck Juro Sabayoff, okay? Like, do you know what I mean? Like, I'm sorry, he's a dark Jedi who seems to be on Thrawn's side. That's helping him from the unknown parts of space. It's Jorah Sabayoth. Like, come on, like just say it. He's an older Jedi, or he's an
Yeah,
older Force user who has an orange Jedi, which means he has like sort of like a little bit of the light in him while he's using the dark side. It's
exactly.
Jorah Sabayoth.
And it's how he holds the lightsaber as well. He holds it the old traditional ways of like the Knights of the Old Republic used to hold as well. Like those Jedi Knights had more of a medieval guard stance. Obviously, this is getting really nerdy technical about how Jedi sword styles
No,
are.
you're right. Yeah. He holds it kind of like how Dooku held it, like because
Yes,
obviously Dooku
exactly.
used it,
Yes.
and Dooku was a massive studier of like the ancient. Like this is why he was so good
Yeah.
as a lightsaber duelist because he used a lightsaber style Makashi, which
Yeah.
wasn't used like in normal like in modern day fighting. That's why he was so good at it. Like he was more of a fencing style, and then
Yeah.
what like
Hence
used in
the
ancient Jedi.
it was also hence why the handle came into place for himself and how he held himself with it. Because, as you said there, he learned the more old ancient styles. And I hope that's kind of what we get from seeing this in Ahsoka. Because obviously, Ahsoka has a very unique lightsaber fighting style herself with two lightsabers and doing the two cross-eyed style. Like, that's very unique to her. She kind of really refined that style. Not saying she's the only person who's used two lightsabers. Bloody hell, Maul exists. Like, come on now. But you
Oh
get what I
yeah,
mean.
for real.
She kind of redefined how to use two sabers effectively.
Well, look at what's going on. Looks like the rumors, what's being set up for Thrawn. It's going to be taking place apparently in a place called the Beyond. Um, and it's going to be like more of a kind of like a magic based story, which is pretty cool because obviously you've got Thrawn there who has been in unknown space for a long time, and we don't know
Yeah,
what's in the unknown regions very much. I mean, we know there's a lot of mysteries out there just because of the Throne Ascendancy books, like Chaos Rising and stuff like that.
yeah.
Obviously, the Chiss are out there. But what I thought was very interesting in the trailer, we saw a Night Sister, and
Yes, yes.
they're all supposed to be extinct. So, is there another faction of the Night Sisters
That's
where
further away. Yeah.
very exactly. So, I saw a theory, and I can't remember who said it. Where obviously you've got Dathomir, where the Night Sisters are from. There was a theory that the Night Sisters aren't actually from there, and like just a faction of the Night Sisters migrated to Dathomir thousands of years ago, and their
That would
actual
make
place.
sense.
It would, right, because it
Yeah.
would make sense for a more well technically advanced faction like the Night Sisters to come to Dathomir and kind of dominate the Night Brothers that already would live there. Like
Yeah.
they seem like more of a tribal faction. So the theory is that I've seen is the actual original home of the Night Sisters is somewhere in the Beyond. Similar to how in the old Republic, where the Sith came from like the unknown regions of space before they were discovered by the outcasts of the Jedi,
Yeah.
and then obviously they then moved to Dromund Kos. Do you know, and that became their
Oh, yeah, yeah,
home planet.
yeah, yeah. It took me a moment, but I knew which part of. Yeah, I know where it's
Yeah,
original. Like
so
to add
that's what I'm thinking.
Yeah, to add to that as well, take something as simple as like Mando recently. Obviously, there's going to be like spoilers for people, so pre-warning to everything we're talking here. But take as simple as the most recent Mandalorian episode where they spoke about how they didn't even know Mando, like the home of Mandalorian, sunk, and that they moved and migrated to a completely different planet, like Djarin and is it Lady of the Forge or
I think the armor.
Armorer? That's it. Yeah, that they literally openly admitted, like, no, we migrated and left when the wars started because our faction didn't want to get involved.
Well, I thought this was very interesting in this episode. So, and I've been bringing up on the couple of TikTok lives. They were on Concordia, which is the moon of Mandalore. And the reason why they were on Concordia is because Death Watch were exiled to Concordia.
Yeah,
And the faction where the armorer is from was a part of Death Watch. And in the episode of The Mandalorian this week, one of the first questions that was asked when she brought up Concordia is, "Are you Death Watch?" And she was like,
yeah,
"No, Death Watch split into a lot of different factions." Now, what was interesting to me, and this is what I was about to say to you um, before we started this live. We all know the armorer has horns on her head, which
yeah.
means, in my opinion, she was a Mandalorian.
Yeah, she is a
Uh,
Mandalorian.
yes. So, like, basically, if you don't know what Mandalorian is, guys, it is a faction of Death Watch that stayed with Maul, who was loyal to him and supported his takeover of Mandalore. Guess who
And
else is?
basically took his feet. They basically took the idea of Sithology and Mandalorian and merged it together for Maul's ideology when he took over, which was very interesting and is a really great read.
Yes. And do you know what else is cool when you read into it? Guess who else has horns on their helmet in this episode?
Moff Gideon.
Moff Gideon.
It took me a freaking minute. I actually like as soon as you said that, I was like, wait. Yeah, Moff had horns on his. Oh shit.
Moff Gideon had horns on his helmet. Why would he have? Why? Why would he do that? There's only one. There's only one reason for me is because either he was a former follower of Maul, and then he joined the Empire, or he's got something going on there with the Sith, and maybe there's something going on with Maul, dude. I don't know. I mean, is it too far out the question to suggest that maybe, like, someone's trying to clone Maul? Someone's trying to bring
Yeah.
back Maul?
No, this is what I was saying. Like, I openly said this as soon as like the armorer showed like the fractions of breaking away from her. No, we are the only Mandalorian group. We must keep as us. We must keep as Mandalore. To as soon as she started letting like Bo-Katan be Bo-Katan and be like, look, you walk both paths. You will align everyone. Part of me feels the armorer has got something set up in place and more in depth that we don't know about. Because don't you find it quite unique and interesting that the armorer didn't stay when Moff Gideon jumped all of them? She flew off planet and brought injured people.
Yeah, for it, exactly, exactly. And I think it's interesting. Like, you don't put something there in the audience's faces and expect them not to speculate. Like, you don't put it
Exactly,
there for
yeah.
no reason.
Like,
Like, there was no need for Gideon to have horns on his head. There was no reason for it.
part of me thinks they might have just done it to be like, oh, we're teasing some things, and Moff just did it to look cool. But at the same time, there's too many alignments to make me not think it's something more in depth. Because Mandalorian hasn't ever shied away from here's things that are in your face that are gonna come back to shock you later down the line. Like, take for the whole fact of we literally watched Paz fight and show a chess game and showed about jumpers and everything and how to like jump and do an ambush. What literally happens in the episode right at the end? They get ambushed. And who is the one that literally says yield or fight? And who is the one that fights for everyone while everyone else flees? Paz.
Exactly.
It's like subtle things like that show Mandalorian are giving you more things to take in depth.
For real. And with the Mandalorian, like giving you little hints to see what's going to happen in the future, that brings me to, like we were saying, is Throne going to be around at the time of a certain film?
Yeah.
Maybe it isn't Throne who's the big bad guy of this. Maybe might be Maul. Could be Maul. They might be teasing Maul for the film. You never know.
I don't know. Part of me thinks something a lot crazier. And hear me out. I don't know how much you've played of Star Wars video games.
I've played him. Yeah.
So Force Unleashed released a very unique story of a certain Jedi you could fall down the path of a Jedi and betray Darth Vader, or you could fall in the line of the Sith, known as the Wonderful Starkiller. Shout out to that voice actor. He is fucking 10 out of 10 playing that like role, and he would fit live action in a movie version. I genuinely would love to see an alignment to where Starkiller is going to be a villain.
Oh, see, I'm really 50-50 with Starkiller, dude. Because for me, Starkiller is an amazing character. Don't get me wrong, he's fantastic. Yes, I would like to see him, but Starkiller is like a universe-breaking character. Like he is
Ex-
so
exactly.
unbelievably powerful.
But
And
what? Why would that not make sense though? To put all the odds against. Look at like not saying Djarin is like this groundbreaking character or anything, but look, all the odds have ever been stacked against him, my man has still came through and somehow won every battle he's got himself into. Putting Starkiller as a major villain threat would make sense, especially if Thrawn's gone. I can't see anyone else being stronger than Thrawn with how they're lining him up at the moment, other than Starkiller.
yeah, I would say so. Like you've got I mean, if you want to bring Starkiller in as a character, then like you need to make like an Avengers style
Mm-hmm.
versus Thanos film, and I'm talking like Avengers. You need all of the Mandalorians there. You need like Boba Fett there. You need
Yep.
Fennec Shand. You need Luke Skywalker. You need Ahsoka Tano. Like everyone needs to go against like Starkiller right now because that guy
Also,
is like I say,
also
a
add the
universe breaking character.
I was going to say, also add the Bad Batch involved and also bring back some of the clone troopers that are in a slight retirement. That can still fight, like a
You, you,
Rex.
yeah, for sure. You would need to. You would need to if that's the case.
But
Honestly.
that's but like this is the thing. I think this movies that they're setting up. So the prequel movie we're getting, where it's like before Jedi's time, and like obviously as Jedi's were being discovered. I think this really is going to shape all the future content because they're going to use like the prequel movie they're going to make as like literally their bible now of these are the new rules we've set that give us more boundaries because we've been basing our Star Wars lore off what we've already been given. If we're given a prequel before everything happens, we can go, oh yeah, but they apply by the rules of this new movie.
For me, this is it's an interesting move for Star Wars to do at this point because if it was me and I was Disney, I would continue plucking things from Legends that I like the look of. But if you're going all the way back to like essentially rewrite Star
Exactly.
Wars,
Yeah.
um, it's an interesting thing to do. I think you're going to annoy some people. I mean, I know the Old Republic is already Legends. I know Knights of the Old Republic is like already Legends. Like, things like that are already Legends. I get it, but like the possibility of them coming back and being there, I think has been in the back of people's heads this whole
Yeah.
time. If you're going to rewrite it, then I would include some of the older things. Like, for example, the Rickartans. I would like to see some
That'd
of
be
the
so
Rickartans.
good.
Yes, because they were the ancient empire before the Jedi were even around. They were
Mm,
using dark side machines to get around space. Like they essentially created the hyperdrives like
yeah.
out of dark side energy. Um, so Rickartans need to be involved. They've already been mentioned in Andor, that little
Yep.
necklace. I don't understand why you wouldn't bring them back if you're already going to mention them. If you're going to continue down that road, like I said, maybe bring up the old Sith Wars, maybe bring up like the old Republic Wars, maybe Valkorion or Vitiate. I think one day
Oh.
I would love a Vitiate film.
Oh, Valcor. Nah, As soon as you said Valkorion, I'm full on board for that. That was fun as hell to get to read some of the comic lines they did for that old stuff. Like
Oh my
that
God,
was so
dude.
sick.
Dude, have you ever read the Revan novel, like the Old Republic Revan
No,
novel?
that is one on my list though for sure.
Oh my God, dude, read that book and tell me that book would not work great as a film. It takes place after Knights of the Old Republic, where where Revan and oh my God, what is her name? The one who does battle meditation. What is her name? Her. You know who I'm on about though, right?
I think I do. I can't think of the name off the top of my head though. I do
The
vaguely.
Jedi. She was the Jedi who led like a strike force to kill Revan or capture him, and then like they broke, like they rewrote his memory. It was her. But anyway, basically, it takes place after the events of the game. and it drops us into a world there where it follows like some of the characters of Knights of the Old Republic on their journeys, what happens after the game, and how like Vitiate is still alive in the unknown regions. Like it's such a good book, dude. Read it, and it'd work so well as a film, and I think they should definitely do it as a film.
I'm just very excited for everything we're now getting for like all these opportunities that you're saying, like as we are all saying, like the fact of we've got a very early prequel movie in the works. We're getting a Mando film, which I think could, like, I don't want to be like this will be the greatest Star Wars movie ever, but genuinely, Mandalorian each season hasn't flopped. It's always delivered right towards the end, where it does a bigger and longer episode length. Like, look at this most recent episode. That was a bit longer in length, and it needed that extra length to do everything it needed to do. And man, did it deliver on insane new canon that I'm so excited for. Moff Gideon creating fucking new stormtroopers and new battle droids with Beskar armor.
Well, what I love about
That's
that
crazy.
was it's crazy and at the same time very clever, because I mean you shouldn't really have to compensate for bad writing in the sequels. For me, it was bad writing, but at the same time, you've got a situation here where it shows kind of where the Praetorian Guards came from.
Yeah,
Because
exactly.
you had the Praetorians here, you had like a bit like the T visor, like the Mandalorians, but we also see those in the Knights of Ren in like the Last Jedi when they fight Rey and Kylo. So like we kind of know where they came from and why they thought that the First Order was getting it from. You also see in this Mando episode Commandant Hux, which was
Yes.
General Hux's father. Like we know about him if you've read the Aftermath novels.
Yeah.
I would like so that's cool.
What's also really interesting about it that they showed it as well is that Moff Gideon knows of Thrawn and is also being agitated by Thrawn not revealing himself. So does that mean we're going to get that major crossover of Ahsoka, Mandalorian, Thrawn all seeing each other, Moff Gideon also involved? It feels like they're lining up those to be a big movie moment going forward.
Now, I don't want to speculate too much, because I don't really want it to happen. But is Thrawn gonna kill Gideon? Because
I
Gideon's
thought
getting a
that.
bit too, yeah, because he's getting a bit too big for his boots. I mean, I love Gideon, but you don't question Thrawn's plans, dude, because you might be clever, but Thrawn is like 4 steps ahead of everybody, like all the time,
And also,
like.
also taking in like control into your own hands of, oh, the Mandalorians nearly defeated me before, so I have to make them my main priority now. Doesn't that also affect Thrawn's plans if you're now trying to hold Mandalore as your own?
Mm-hmm.
Like,
Exactly.
did Thrawn give permission of that? Did the Shadow Council give you permission of that? I don't think they would have. So
And this is it. And like you've got someone on the council there, which is very cool, and I'm very glad that the
yeah,
like added this. You got Captain Pelly in there, who
yeah,
in the old Heir to the Empire was obviously Thrawn's right hand man on the Chimera. He's also in the Thrawn novels, which is dope. And I'm so glad that we got to see Pelly in there because it's just a little detail that I'm sure Timothy's on probably told John Favreau and Dave Filoni to do, regarding like the whole Thrawn story that they're trying to tell because he is being
yeah.
consulted, not officially, but he is being asked for his opinion. Little things like that really help you, if you're a Star Wars fan, become comfortable with the story that they're trying to tell. And if you're not familiar with Pelion, it's just another layer of who is this Thrawn guy? Why is Pelion so enthusiastic about him coming
Yeah.
back, and why is everyone else questioning it?
I also love the fact of they really pointed out the fact of he wouldn't listen to anyone else talk down Thrawn. It was like, no, you're going to listen to what I've got to say. He will give you his plan when he is good and ready. and just
Mhm.
left it as that. He was ready to take a whole Shadow Council on and hear them talk shit, so he can just go back to Thrawn and be like, "Yo, so this was what was said about you. Let's deal with it."
Yes, yeah, 100%, dude. And I tell you what I loved about the Shadow Council as well. Obviously you got Commandant, whatever his name is, Hux there, which is cool. I would have quite have liked to have seen somebody else there because when they were talking about cloning. I mean, I know it was like a long time ago in the timeline. Um, but I really want Hemlock to survive the events of the Bad Batch.
Oh, that
Hemlock
would
for me is very cool.
that would have been interesting. But as you said, like obviously with Bad Batch and everything, I don't think they would have done that. I don't think they're ready to kind of like merge that story quite yet, especially with how the
Exactly.
late, especially with the how the latest season of Bad Batch went and how they ended the last episode. Obviously, um,
Well, they've already done a new trailer for it as well. They did it at Star Wars Celebration for season 3.
yeah, and just all the Star Wars Bad Batch fans grieving in pain. Like, you know.
I know, man. I can't believe. Oh God, when have we ever followed orders? I was like, no, Tech,
Yeah, I was
no,
like, not my man Tech, no. I,
Tick, no,
I,
Tick.
I literally said to G's brother who watches Bad Batch as well, so I get to do like my Star Wars talk in person with him, and he was like, "You watched the latest episode?" I went, "Yeah," and he was like, "I swear to God, if one more person goes," and I looked at him and I went, "I know exactly who you're gonna say because I feel the same way." I literally said to him, "If anything happens to Wrecker, I literally am like I'm done with Bad Batch. I can't cope."
I know, I know. Like, oh, I'd be devastated if, like, yeah, it'd be like a. Oh, you know for a fact that if they got rid of Wrecker, it would be like a Paz Vizsla situation where
Exactly.
he'd be taking out so many people while he was going
He'd be
down.
so badass with it, but like I don't want to see it because even though Wrecker is such like the lovable tank that can beat the heck out of so many people, he's like been the best like role model for Echo, and I don't want to see that go anywhere worse for her. No, not Echo.
No, yeah,
Omega.
Omega,
Yeah. Why
yeah,
did I say Echo? Who was I thinking when I was thinking Echo?
probably,
No, Echo was one
yeah,
that
Echo.
also left. Yeah. Yeah,
I
no,
was.
that's what I was trying to say. Yeah, so Wrecker really looked after Echo because obviously Echo was the one that had all the injuries and everything and like loads of transplants, and Wrecker was like, "I'll still like treat you the same." And then Omega, like obviously being the kid of the group, and Wrecker's like, "Yeah, I'll look after your kid," and like he's playful with her and nice, and it's like, you ruin Wrecker, I'm broken.
Oh, dude, man. Like, yeah, I totally agree with that. And I think with the Bad Batch as well, like I say, I think eventually, like going back to the whole Dark Council thing, I think eventually, they will be put into this timeline. I don't know if all of them will be because like clones have like advanced aging and stuff like that. But
Yeah,
Omega for me definitely will appear in live action at some point because she ages very slowly. That's one of her powers, isn't it? Like that
yeah,
she ages slowly. She existed before the Bad Batch. She watched them grow up and like she's still younger than them. So that's something cool that like we need to see fleshed out. Um I really want to see another. I'm surprised this wasn't announced at Star Wars Celebration because seeing as though we're getting a new Mando season, probably I'm
yeah.
assuming we're getting a Mandoverse film that was announced at Celebration. I'm surprised we're not getting a new season of the Book of Boba Fett. I won't lie to you
I
because I
think
think there's so
I
much there. There's so much more there they can do.
I think we will. I just think they want to focus on finishing the Jaren story, especially with what they're planning to set up. I think Fett, like, and this isn't knocking Fett at all. I don't think Fett fits the Thrawn storyline as well as Djarin and everyone else because Thrawn very much is that powerhouse villain, and having someone like Fett, who is this vigilante, I look after my hometown and people for me, wouldn't really fit the aesthetic of going against a government like leader who's about to overthrow like how much of the galaxy when he got into power. Like,
Yeah, that's true. Like, obviously he's got control of some Imperial forces, but
Yeah.
how do you think Thrawn is like going to bolster the rest of his army? Like I said, do you think he's got some like Night Sisters on his side? Like, what do you think he's got there?
So this goes to what I was saying to you that a lot of people didn't really realize because it was very quick. So when Moff Gideon was walking to the Shadow Council, did you notice any tubes that were behind him?
Yeah, like a lot of like experimental tubes and stuff. Yeah.
They were all BAFTA tanks, but they were all slightly variationed and changed. But the main build of them are all BAFTA tanks. So if we're going off the idea of cloning and all these tubes that are behind him and everything, what's not to say Thrawn has been ordering certain experimental projects to clone certain people? What's not to say Thrawn's trying to make his own version of like the literal clone troopers?
Okay. So you think he's got like so obviously Gideon is working on like special
Exact,
troopers. You
exactly.
think
Yeah,
Thrawn you think that's like a prototype for what Thrawn is wanting to do?
yeah. I think Gideon's gone and done the armor side of things, and I think he's like testing these like new interesting builds he can go for these people. And I think Thrawn will take that idea, but also put it in cloning with how the Clone Wars works so efficiently. Because obviously you microchip that, you can use your dark side with it and everything. And look, you've got a whole nother resurgence of the Clone Wars coming through. And I think that would be very much a unique way to build his army. I know that's not like very true to how the novels would set it or anything, but on a bigger scale, I think that would be amazing to see.
Okay, that's a good idea actually. I'll post something else to you as well. Like, 'cause
Mm,
obviously you've got Thrawn there, you've got Pelion there. You obviously got Walmart Jurasabayoff there.
yeah.
Um, so we've seen all of the Rebels cast up to now. Something that I know a lot of people are talking about. Zeb. We saw Zeb in
Oh
Mando.
yeah, yeah, we did see Zeb Mando. That was
I,
great.
I, I don't know why I don't know why no one's talking about that by the way, but I'll come back to that in a minute. We've seen Sabine, we've seen Hera. Obviously, Kanan's not there. Where's Ezra?
Yeah, I was thinking this. So me and my friend were talking about how the fact of Ahsoka seems like she might be trying to get some of the Jedi alignments going forward. And also, if we're going to talk about the new movies that are coming out, obviously Rey Skywalker's movie is set 5 years after everything that's happened, and apparently her movie is meant to be about her reforming the Jedi Alliance and teaching Jedi's.
Mhm.
What's not to say Ezra might be in the lineup to help Rey.
Right. Okay. So I had a total that's a good one. I actually do like the fact that you've kind of got a case of Ezra is like growing up kind of how Ahsoka grew up and like started
Yeah.
helping Luke in the Book of Boba Fett. I like that kind of idea. So I had a bit of a thought that like Ezra has been in the unknown space with Thrawn for so long that
Oh.
Thrawn has kind of got Ezra to come to his side or his way of thinking. I think it'd be a huge twist if Ezra is a dark side
Oh,
user on Thrawn's side.
that
I
would
would,
break me though, because I couldn't see that of like watching his whole story through Rebels to then just see that happen would I would be like, oh,
dude, can you imagine? Because
that would be
like
amazing, but it would break
if
me.
if you really think about Thrawn and if you've read the books, Thrawn actually isn't an inherently bad guy.
Yeah.
He does bad things and he's on the side of the bad guys to do good for his own people. He's there basically to research for the Chiss to see whether the Empire would have been a good ally for the Chiss to fight the Grisk.
Yes.
Now being alone with Thrawn for so long in unknown space, knowing that probably no one's ever going to find Ezra, and Thrawn being the only person kind of there to talk to, kind of like how when Anakin lost everyone and Palpatine was the only
Oh,
person to talk
yeah.
to there.
I see where you're going with that.
Ezra,
Yeah.
yes, Ezra, like it's possible Ezra might be on the dark side the next time we see him, and I think that'd be an interesting twist instead of just like him being just, oh yeah, it's Ezra, like back his like light side again, because we know we know he's susceptible to the dark side because with Maul.
Yeah.
Maul taught him some dark side, so he started using the Sith holocron. Like Ezra isn't afraid to touch the dark side. He isn't adverse to like trying new things, especially with his master Kane not there to tell him what not to do.
Yeah.
So for me, Ezra would be a cool little redemption story. Like I think it would be a cool little thing at the end of the Ahsoka show if he eventually turned on Thrawn or he decided to go. Yeah, decided to come back to being Spectre 6. Like, but at the start, I think it'd be a nice little twist that Ezra Bridger is on the dark side, baby.
I would like to tie in with that as well. I'd love with this prequel movie we're gonna get, like the well before all the Knights Republic, everything. I'd love for them to tap into what they did with the Anakin comics I showed you ages ago, where Anakin became that infused with the dark side. He became the embodiment of the dark side. I'd love to see kind of an idea of the way of the Force and the way of the Sith. You actually see them as entities, like they are literally cosmic beings of space, of one of the side of light and one of the side of dark.
Like the son and the daughter.
Like yes, exactly like that. And it would make sense because obviously they freaking retcon this so many times. But back in Phantom Menace about the Metachlorians and everything, and how Anakin just appeared and landed on the planet as a Force user.
Jesus, basically.
Yeah, you have the potential to do that if you make these cosmic beings. They become the deciders of who should carry the Force and who can teach its practices correctly. But this is the thing about, like, a lot of people don't take this on board. Star Wars is literally a hero's journey meets religion. It is the way. It's also the way of the samurai. Like, so many of those put into storylines where if you had your good and your evil, and your good and your evil becomes the judge and jury of who they decide they want to teach their practices, and if they go away from the practices, that shows how it can work. And I think the prequel movies could really do that, and that could help, as you said, with the whole idea of Ezra in the unknown space and everything like that. What's not to say these cosmic entities have been hiding in the unknown space for this long and haven't shown themselves either. Maybe Thrawn gets most of his magic and the way of his powers because he's in an alignment with the Sith entity.
I would love that. I mean, I would like Thrawn to be allied with someone with magic. I wouldn't want Thrawn to have the magic because I think for me, Thrawn's magic in terms of his character comes from this guy doesn't have any Force powers. He doesn't possess any magic. He's more of just Thrawn's great because he's just cleverer than you.
Yeah.
And he's an amazing tactician, and he thinks 3 steps ahead, and he actually does his research to defeat his enemies. I think that's what made him good in Heir to the Empire all the way back in the 90s. Yeah. I think that's what made him amazing in the Thrawn novels. I think that's what made him great in in Rebels. One of my favorite Rebels episodes is when he's trying to find out who Fulcrum was.
Oh, okay, yeah.
And the way he figures it out, like he doesn't have to really do anything to figure out who it is. He just lets all the chess pieces on the board move around him, and then he comes to the conclusion. Yeah. Says, like Yularen, like he tells him who Fulcrum is, and I just think it's so cool the way his character works. I just think it's he's so unique. And this is kind of why I like Hemlock. Them two guys are so kind of like unique in terms of you got all these amazing people around him who can do all these great things and like super strength for the Bad Batch and stuff like that. And like, no, Hemlock and Thrawn are just clever.
Yeah,
that's why they're better. That's why they're better than you.
Well, that's why I loved Tech when Tech was introduced into the Bad Batch, because Tech was like, I'm not good at fighting. I'm not good with weapons or anything. I'm just statistically battle smart and know how my technology works. And that was one of my favorites to see because it was like, cool, finally a clone that isn't just a I'm good at everything. Yes, it was a no, I'm shit at fighting, but I can tell you how to plan your strategy and get you the quickest victory.
Yeah, exactly. That's what made these characters so unique and so like different. Um, but what I will say is, there is one more show that we've not talked about,
Yeah.
and that I got announced at Star Wars Celebration, and that is Skeleton Crew. I
Yeah,
can't
yeah.
wait for this. I cannot wait for Skeleton Crew.
I'm
Um,
very shocked by the casting already, and I'm like very excited for the unique stories it can tell. I just hope it doesn't detract people away from Star Wars because it's going to be such an out there Star Wars experience.
it has the potential to be very cringy, but it
Yes,
also has the
exactly.
potential. Yeah, it has the potential also though to, like you say, tell a very unique, different Star Wars story because it's about children.
Yeah.
It's about um that could work in two different ways. It could either go very wrong and people are like, nah, this is rubbish, typical Disney, give it as crap, or it could be like, this is well cool and well different. And I think eventually it will tie into the Mandoverse. I don't
Oh,
think
I
it
would
will
love
right
that.
now, but I think it will, especially after the Ahsoka show because we're exploring the beyond and the unknown
Yes.
regions, and that's where Skeleton Crew is gonna like sort of like be. I think the Skeleton Crew are already going to kind of be there and make like a little bit of a cameo in the
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Ahsoka show,
To line
and
up their show, it would make sense, 100%.
I would do that if I was Star. I would definitely do that.
What I also think about Skeleton Crew is I think if you go into the show with the idea of all of us as kids wanted to fly in a Star Wars ship, and you detract away the fact of I'm watching this as a Star Wars show and just have that. Remember when we wanted to be kids and wanted to be in a Star Wars ship and do cool adventures? You're now getting a show about that. Like it's the whole fact of
Yes,
taking a childhood dream and kind of putting it into a series. And kids are going to enjoy that because it's going to be like this aims to kind of towards a kid audience, but like it will still appeal to adults that are trying to get their kids into Star Wars because you're going to have your kids being like, wait, there's kids that do cool things in Star Wars too. And I'm like, heck yeah. Like Skeleton Crew is one of the coolest
for real.
ideas in a
Yeah,
while.
100%, 100%. Um, I kind of want to talk about like the timeline of certain characters here as well. Like if we're talking about
Mm, yeah.
new shows that are coming out. So Skeleton Crew, I'm assuming, is taking place near around the time of just after Ahsoka and in between
Yeah.
the new film that's coming out. So let's put Skeleton Crew. Wow, did you see me just spit right out of my mouth?
Yeah.
And that was funny. But, like that was insane, dude. I thought I was gonna hit the camera.
Just a
Yeah, I don't know why that happened.
That's
So
all
let's
good.
let's put Skeleton Crew around like 12 years after Return of the Jedi. Okay,
Mhm.
so like we've got a little bit of a decent timeline between all of these shows going. So let's age some people. Like so around the time of the Book of Boba Fett, I think Ahsoka is around in a late 40s.
Yes, yes, she would.
So which would mean like Luke is still quite young as well, seeing as though he was only in his teens and like 20s around the time of Return of the Jedi.
Yep.
So that means he's going to be like in his late 30s around the time of Skeleton Crew. Well, an interesting one for me is Ezra Bridger was
Ooh.
only around 16, 17 around like Rebels time. And that was like 4 years before A New Hope. So hang
Yeah.
on, I'm just working this out. So he'd be 24, he'd be about 27 around the time of the Ahsoka show, Mando. He's still very, very young,
Yeah.
which is dope. But there is one thing, and there's a rumor and I'm just going to throw this out there, and there's one person who I would like to discuss, and it works well with the Ahsoka show because I'm going to bring up the World Between Worlds.
Okay.
Now, in the Ahsoka show, we're getting the World Between Worlds. There is a trailer part where it it's clearly someone's in the World Between Worlds. If you look at
Yeah,
the floor,
you
it's
can tell.
definitely
Yeah,
World
yeah, yeah.
Between. Yes. Now it's rumored that we're going to be getting like flashbacks of Ahsoka, like viewing a past and like really deep diving into what made her as this person.
Okay.
Now there is a rumor that we're going to get a flashback of um Anakin and Obi-Wan or Mustafar, but
Ooh, okay.
with but instead of Obi-Wan fighting Anakin, it's Ahsoka fighting Anakin.
Don't, because I would freaking love that. I would love that because that was one of my favorite parts of the whole Clone Wars and seeing Ahsoka go against Anakin. And when they did it with Star Wars Legends or the animated series that they did where it was the Tales of a Jedi. Tales of a Jedi is what it's called. And they did the
Yes.
Ahsoka episode where them two, like where she's training against all the clones. I
So
would love
right,
to see live action.
bear with me on this one, okay?
Okay.
So there is a possibility that the things that happen in the World Between Worlds can go wrong, okay?
Mm-hmm.
And we know that Thrawn, or at least Gideon, is like trying to clone like certain people, like, and especially if they go in like the Jorah Sabayoth way, he's a clone. Spoiler alert.
Yeah.
Like if no one's seen it, he's a clone of a Jedi, basically, who went mad.
Yeah.
Now, the guy who looks like Jorah Sabayoth in the trailer looks about, in my opinion, about late 50s, early 60s.
Okay.
Anakin Skywalker, around the time of this show, would be about late 50s, early 60s.
Come on.
If they're going to go the way of a clone Jedi, I'm just throwing it out there,
That's
that would be dope.
I would have never thought of it, but now you've said it like that and how you've kind of delivered it, I kind of want that more now just to see the shock and reveal.
Well, the world between worlds is like a mad thing. We don't really understand all of the rules. Now, we know that Ezra pulled Ahsoka out into the world between worlds when she was fighting Vader. Now, does that still happen? Or does it, does time keep looping in that world between worlds segment? Do you know what I mean?
Oh,
For
yeah,
like,
yeah.
so it would work if like it creates multiverses, kind of like Marvel. So Obi-Wan and Anakin and Mustafar still happens. Anakin gets burned, Darth Vader, blah, blah, blah. Is there a universe or is there a timeline where we could get Anakin cloned and we've got a fully fledged, like, older Anakin there with all of his flesh still intact?
That'd be sick. That would be really
It,
cool.
it would be dope. It would be so dope, dude. And I can't take credit for this. I've seen a lot of people talking about this online. And I saw this and I was like, that is mental. But also at the same time, I am here for it. I would love to see that shit.
And there is one last show we haven't spoke about that you forgot about because I messaged it you and you were like, "Oh, bro, that's such good news." Star Wars Visions season 2 is happening.
Oh yes, Star Wars Visions, dude. My God, yes,
And
yes.
we already got a trailer that was revealed at Star Wars Celebration first, and then it came to us like a day after. But there is a lot of unique, more Western animation studios with this season. Not as many anime studios from what it seemed. There was actually a claymation one that I was very intrigued by because it looked very nice with how they've designed it. And I'm really excited for the anime ones that they showed as well because they really showed like a nice CG one straight to begin, like a really intense Jedi lightsaber fight. And I was like, yep, I'm here for all of this. This looks perfect. And like season 1 for me, because I'm such a big anime head, this was like the perfect combination of what I love with Star Wars and what I love with anime. Like episode 1, you give me a samurai themed Jedi who stole lightsaber crystals to hide the fact he's a Jedi and was using Sith red blades. Perfect. Just such a unique story. And I really am excited to see what Visions bring because it fits the title perfectly. Just so many
100%.
different studios with such unique ideas and takes on Star Wars. And I love what people can bring from it because there's been such great episodes in Visions.
Well, I love the fact that it's not canon as well, so people can just
Yeah,
go like wild with the ideas that they have for it. Like
but
one of my
even but
favorite.
even some have done canon. That's the thing, which is crazy. Some have been like, "Hey, we're going to keep to canon continuity, but we're going to do what we want to do animation wise." And I'm like, "Hell yes!"
Yeah, exactly. I mean, my favorite Visions episode was probably the twins one. The twins one was really good. Um, I can't remember I can't remember what the
Mm,
actual episode was
hmm
called, but like yeah, like one of them was like really bad, one of them turned out to be really good. Like that episode was dope. I really kind of like the music festival one, to be honest. I'm not gonna lie, like that one was so different. I really like that one. Like the one that you just said, the samurai one, that was dope. There was so many like nice little stories in Visions, and I can't wait to see what they do in season two. Like you say, these different studios taking control of the episodes, giving their own little take on what's going on. I think it would just be nice to see what they produce this time. And the good thing about Visions is this could be the first and second of many series because they could just keep
Yeah,
doing this for a long time.
exactly. They
Like
can just speak to many different animation studios. Like the one that you mentioned of the Twins episode, that's one of my all-time favorite animation studios. They're called Studio Trigger, and they make phenomenal like anime movies and anime series. They've made like very famous anime work that people know because their anime like style is very out there, and like I love the fact the twins episode really gave that expressive lightsaber hits, and then they went really crazy anime levels where they were like, "Hey, the evil twin, yeah, she's gonna summon more robotic arms so she can do more lightsaber battling." I'm like, "Yeah, that that's Trigger in a nutshell." And this is the thing, like we can have so many studios do so many great episodes of Visions, and I want those what if episodes. I want those like really just new unique stories. Like heck, I'm gonna throw it out there. I've played Star Wars D&D. I made a clone trooper who survived and became a Mandalorian. I would love to see an animation studio take a story like that, make someone as a fallen hero, take on the way of Mandalore, and become a badass Mandalorian.
that would be dope, dude. Like, and we need to get on a campaign just so we like 100% just so I can play that with you.
Don't worry,
But yeah, like
it's in the works. It's in the works.
that's good to know. It really that is really good to know. Um, but would you want? I know the answer is probably going to be yeah, but would you want a what if season about Star Wars like they did for Marvel?
Yeah, yeah. Like as someone said in the comics, Dark Horse did a comic series which was known as Star Wars Infinities, and it was a series of like what if scenarios. And I always enjoyed where Star Wars do the out there storylines and the more creative side, especially when they did with the comics. Like as I keep going back to the Anakin becoming literally a Sith in like the antithesis. Is it antithesis? I
And
think that's
in the context that you're using, I know what you're going for. Yeah.
yeah. He literally embodies being a Sith. He becomes literally the Sith itself. So I'd love more storylines where they do what ifs. Like what if perfect scenarios. What if Anakin never became a Sith Lord?
What if Qui-Gon Jinn didn't die?
What if
What
Qui
if
Gon Jinn didn't die? What
what if Maul beat Obi-Wan?
Here you
What
go.
if
Here's a
what if
here's a
Anakin beat
crazier one.
Obi-Wan?
Here's a crazier one. What if Maul was a Jedi?
What if Maul was a Jedi? That's a dope one. What if Palpatine was a Jedi?
What if Order 66 never happened?
There's another good one. Here's another one. What if Plagueis killed Palpatine?
That'd be sick. That would be sick. What if the Djarin and Bo-Katan swap places?
Oh yeah. That'd be sick. I like that one.
What if here you go, perfect one. What if Grogu chose the way of the Jedi and never went back to going with the Jaren?
That's another good one.
He picked Luke.
What if the Empire captured C-3PO and R2-D2 in A New Hope?
Even funnier. What if, because now we've watched Mandalorian, you'll know this, the droid that Mando has was actually meant to be the original droid Luke was going to take until he self-sabotaged. What if Luke did take that droid?
That would be funny. That'd be funny just for like a little funny one. That'd be great.
Exactly. What if that droid was taken?
Oh my god. What if Thrawn won at the end of Rebels?
Oh, that's amazing. What if Rogue One failed?
Yes. What if they never got off Scarif? Do you mean?
Yep.
Yes.
What if the message was never received? Like Darth Vader stopped it from being received.
Oh yes, yes. What if Darth Vader found his kids before Obi-Wan did?
See, now that's a perfect one. That would be such a darker tone. Imagine freaking Luke and Padme as Sith Lords alongside their dad. That'd be mad. So yeah, see, we just us talking episode theories of what you could do of what if. I think that'd be outstanding.
Here's one for you, dude. What if Mace Windu killed Palpatine? What would happen then?
That would be so mad.
Because I feel like Anakin would then fight Windu.
I've got one for you.
Oh, go on.
What if Mace Windu killed Yoda in Attack of the Clones?
Oh, okay. Oh, here's another one. Here's another one. What if Yaddle killed Dooku in Tales of the Jedi?
I completely forgot about the Yaddle. Oh, that would be mad. Oh shit, I'd love that.
Because that Palpatine stood there like, oh.
No, I've just thought of the most heartbreaking one.
What if Yaddle escaped instead of fighting Dooku?
That's a really good one, but you ready for the most heartbreaking one?
She saw everything. Oh, go on.
What if Rex did execute Order 66 on Ahsoka?
Oh, man. Oh, right. No.
Exactly. Like.
Oh, dude. Oh man. Exactly. Oh, man.
What if it... Here you go. What if it was Jedis that were cloned instead of clone troopers?
Ooh. Oh, here's another one. What if Rex and Anakin believed fives?
I would love every bit of that episode. That would be one of my all-time favorite because I literally felt so bad for fucking fives. I was like, come on now.
I hated it so much how they didn't believe him, dude. I was like, exactly. It makes sense. Listen to what he's saying.
Exactly. It's like, turn around. Listen to him. You're fucking blind.
I know. Like, Anakin, you're a Jedi. Search your feelings, dude. Like, you know it to be true.
Nah, his feelings were too busy searching into Padme.
Innit?
Oh, but yeah,
like simp.
big boy simp Anakin. But now, like, I think genuinely, we've had some of the most like perfect announcements for Star Wars, and the way they're delivering us to like all of us these content now. Like, don't get me wrong, Star Wars Celebration, it is difficult, especially if you're not there in person, because then you have to go scroll your Twitter, check everyone's news, check what trailers have come out, what images you're going to see. So, like, I understand the amazing hype fans get to be there, but, like, man, do you know how fucking expensive it was?
I know, dude. Like, yeah, the prices, I know. Insane. I'm just glad we've got film announcements because, honestly, like I say, bringing things back into canon would be so dope. Like I was saying before, like a movie set around the Old Republic would be so cool, man. Like, just because, and I say this with utter respect for Palpatine, but Darth Vitiate's Empire makes Palpatine's Empire look like a mini golf game.
Oh yeah, 100%.
Compared to the PGA Tour.
I was gonna say, especially playing freaking like the Knights of the Old Republic games, the Siths in those, Jesus Christ, you knew you were Donza.
Oh, dude, 100%. Like the Dark Council,
Yeah,
the Sith Council, like the Sith that were on that council, and Vitiate, who was an immortal Sith, by the way, like who had lived for 4,000 years because he was so evil that he gathered all of the Sith on one planet and did a ritual that drained all of their life energy. Like Darth Vitiate is a G. I don't care what people say. Like if you compare him to Palpatine, Palpatine's powerful, but Vitiate would kill him in like 3 seconds.
there's one specific Sith that I'm trying to remember her bloody name because she was in the Clone Wars animated series, the non-canon one.
Was she a Twilight?
Maybe like
You're on about she looks like she could be Maul's sister, right?
yes.
Is she called like Talon or something?
That's what I'm trying to find out. I'm literally quickly trying to Google.
I'm sure she's called like Darth Talon or something.
Because like she
I'm
was
sure
one of
that's
the
who it
most
is.
interesting characters that they had. Like,
Well, it's
and
funny
she-
that you say that. It's funny that you say it, dude, because like, did you see what George Lucas's scripts were for the sequel trilogies before he gave it to Disney? And Disney said they were going to use them, but they didn't.
no,
Oh my God! Right. So, and this is what he actually wrote, dude. This was legit. This sounds like fan fiction, but this is what George Lucas wrote for the sequels. For the sequels, Darth Maul returns with his apprentice Darth Talon, who is the Twi'lek with all the black tattoos all over her,
oh yo,
and goes against Luke's new Jedi Order.
see, no,
Yeah.
I know who it is now, and she does appear in the actual other Clone Wars. It's Ventress.
Oh, it sounds Ventress. Oh, I could have said that. I could have said that ages ago, but you said she had red skin.
Well, no, I said like so you had the red skin one, which is the one you've just referred to there, but then you had Asajj as well. She was originally shown in the 2003 animated one, which was non-canon.
I fucking love Ventress, dude.
But yeah, I was going to say this. Ventress gave me that Knights of the Old Republic Sith vibes. When she was in that animated series, you knew she meant fucking business and she could fight, and her lightsaber skills were massively unmatched. Did she have a big ego? Definitely. But I would love to see characters like her really shine in like the new movies.
She earned her place though, in like cockiness, dude. She on a regular basis, she was taking on like Anakin and Obi-Wan at the same time.
And throwing hands, she battered them.
And winning. And winning. Like she was epic, dude. Have you ever read the book Dark Disciple?
Yes.
Oh God, how good is that?
One of my actual favorite Star Wars novels I've read.
I 100% agree. And I'm so cool. I'm so glad that Quinlan Vos is in Kenobi, or is at least mentioned in Kenobi, because he's a character who I definitely want to see flushed out because he's amazing. But I want to see Dark Disciple as like a TV show.
I would love to see that, or at least like they be developed going into the more stuff going forward.
Yes, 100%. So just to like sort of like wrap up on.
Yeah.
I've got a point. I've got a point to make going back to the thing that I was making before, and then I'll ask you one question. And
okay.
And like you can in wrestling terms, you can fantasy book it.
Oh, okay.
But I'm gonna go back to my theory of the whole Jura Sabayoth Anakin thing, right?
Yeah.
It would make sense in another way because Thrawn knows who Anakin is from the Thrawn Alliances book. Went on the mission with him. He knows who he is.
I genuinely completely forgot that they went on a mission together. For God's sake.
So Thrawn knows. So Thrawn knows who Vader is.
Oh man,
Dude,
you know what? You might majorly be onto something here.
do you know what I mean? That would be so cool. Like, is it likely that it's going to happen? I don't know, but I'm here for it. If they clone Anakin or like a version of Anakin, like it'd be crazy. Like, I mean, I'm down for the world between worlds stuff, man. Even if like, even if they decide to not even go with that and like accidentally pull someone out of the High Republic era
Yeah.
from those books, like a Loden Great Storm before he died, or like like someone like that. Like that would be cool, but I could speculate all the way through. My question is to you, just to wrap up on. Seeing as though we're getting new movies, like we're getting a prequel, a current
Mhm.
Mandoverse, and a sequel, right? Okay. If you could take one book or trio, I'll let you have a trilogy if you'd like, out of Legends and turn it into a film, what would it be?
Oh, you've really fucking threw me there though. Cause like
Just
as you
one. Just one.
as you said, cause like Dark Disciples, I feel like would be really freaking good to do, but there's like, but then you've got obviously Knights of the Old Republic storylines as well that I genuinely love. But then, as you said, the Thrawn novels as well. Like, man, you know what? No, I'm gonna say it. I would genuinely go with the Thrawn novels
Okay, I love that idea. I love that.
because I
Are we
think
talking
you could.
the
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So I'm saying we do literally the beginning of Thrawn, like his whole invasion and everything he did, and then the progression of him. Like you could do easily a trilogy of that of Thrawn getting involved, how he came to power, and then how he was stopped with rebels.
Okay, all right, okay. So you would go for them trio of novels and not the Ascendancy ones,
Yeah,
like
yeah.
the Chiss one.
I think the Ascendancy ones are better, but I think for perfect origin story of Thrawn, you could easily do a trilogy movie of showing them in a big picture form, and then you could do a sequel movies of his ascendance of how he came back.
100%, 100%. Yeah, no, I agree with that. I agree with
Like
that.
that's
I
genuinely
do hope.
six movies that write themselves.
I mean, they could go on forever with the Grisk as well if they ever want to in the future. By the way, because I feel like the Grisk should be used as like the Yuzon Vong of this
Yes.
universe, where it's like they're coming in from the outside, and like the Chiss are the only real ones who have seen them. But to answer my own question,
Yeah,
my
I was gonna say, what's yours then?
the Darth Bane trilogy, dude. Darth Bane, like the Darth Bane, like Rule of Two, like Dynasty of Evil, like the whole Darth Xana, like
Yeah.
taking over at the end. Oh, dude, that would be so good as a trilogy of films.
I
Like
didn't
just the
even
Bane story.
see. I didn't even put Bane into like my idea of like doing like Knights of the Old Republic, but it would be so sick for Bane as well. Like, especially
Dude,
because you
like,
said Rule of Two. Like Rule of Two is one of my favorite things they did with the Legend continuity.
oh god, it's so good, man. And the fact that I mean, I love all three books,
Yeah,
but the first one, and if you listen to it as an audiobook, the first one, you literally, one of those things where you get so into a book that you can literally picture what's going on in your
yeah.
head. Dude, I lay there listening to the first Bane novel, and I could just right there in my head, I could picture it, what was going on in my head, like him learning, like going to the Sith Academy, becoming more powerful by reading the old texts, deciding that the Brotherhood of Darkness was a load of bullshit, that we needed to go back to the Rule of Two, him tricking Khan into doing the Thought Bomb, getting rid of all the Jedi and the Sith, him like taking Xana on as his apprentice. Just that book is a masterpiece of
Oh
writing
yeah.
in terms of Star Wars, and I think if that was on the big screen, it would be a long ass film. Don't get me wrong, but I would be here for it, man.
I'd be, mate. I like coming from someone who's watched director's cuts of Lord of the Rings. I'd be there for a director's cut of it and have it that long because it's such a goddamn good story. Like,
100%.
there's so many like as well. I'd love to have very much a series of Vader as well. Like I'd love the Vader Legends comics, where obviously this is before New Hope, everything like that, where Vader, kind of where Obi-Wan did, like very much an Obi-Wan series, but like on Vader's side of things, and Vader coming into his power and his decisions and how he worked with the Inquisitors and everything, and going more that in depth.
I definitely think they should make more darker TV shows and more darker films. Like, for example, I think they should do a Star Wars version of the Suicide Squad, where you've got
Yes.
a bounty hunters film. I want a bounty hunters film, man. Like, give me Bask and like Aura Singh and Cad Bane working together, like in a film
Just give
or
me Cad
something like that.
Bane. That's all I need.
Oh,
Cad Bane,
yeah,
just a full movie.
dude. Yeah, I want a Cad Bane movie. Or what? Like, yes, I'm down for that.
So this is a thing, interesting thing. We were actually meant to have a full-fledged bounty hunter storyline game where you were going to create your own bounty hunter and you would play alongside other famous bounty hunters in the Star Wars universe, and it got scrapped.
Something like when they called like 2023 or something like.
Yep, literally,
Yeah,
it was just a prototype name of Star Wars 2023. That's all they called it at the time, and it was meant to be a full-fledged bounty hunter game. And we were also meant to get a Boba Fett inspired game. So,
oh, it's so sad when I think about it. It's not fair.
but
Give me some more bad guys.
But to wrap up, we do have one last thing to talk about. Is near the end of this month we have Jedi Survivor.
Yes,
which
dude.
I'm fully excited and ready to play, especially with the new customizations of all the different lightsaber choices, and BD1 having customizations now, I think is perfect because it just gives more feels to the droids and gives you more options with the game, but it also just it creates that kind of immersion even more and gets you so much more of the Star Wars universe you want. And also Cal is an amazing Jedi character and I love him in the games.
Oh god, he needs to be brought into live action as well.
Yeah,
I just want to say, by the way, as well, like I'm here for the story of that game because that is definitely a High Republic Jedi that's been in like stasis for hundreds of years, and I want to see a High Republic Jedi in this era of Star Wars.
I don't think it's a High Republic. I don't think it's a High Republic Jedi.
Who do you think it is?
A lot of theories back it, but people genuinely think it's Starkiller.
People think it's Starkiller, really?
The long hair makes sense. The voice, the way he talks about how the Jedi side has become weak and how Siths are also weak. How he spoke about there are many things that you can still learn that you are not using to your best abilities, and just the presence about him. And when Cal walks to that BAFTA tank, the shaping looks like a damaged Starkiller.
That for me though, that kind of conversation. I mean, in Legends, we all know that like back in the day, Sith were powerful as hell, and like they knew more than the Sith of today, and like same with the Jedi. So when he's saying that kind of stuff, I'm thinking old school High Republic, like 700-800 years ago, maybe even further back, like because they have more information, they have more knowledge, and he's
which I could see, which I could definitely see that as well. But I part of me really thinks maybe they would do it because EA obviously owned freaking Starkiller's rights and Force Unleashed's rights. So now it makes sense to, hey, we've got this opportunity to do a really cool reveal of someone. Let's do it.
I'll tell you what, dude. If they were to rewrite a Starkiller character of someone who existed thousands of years ago and he's been in stasis for that long, like Starkiller, like instead of being trained by Vader, etc.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm.
And he gets brought back from the past. I would be down for that.
Like, I don't think it's going to be like the exact same Starkiller. Like, this is what I'm trying to say. I don't think it's going to be the Starkiller everyone knows from Force Unleashed. I genuinely think it's going to be a Starkiller storyline where he was not trained by Vader, but he was a Sith in his own right, and he was that damn strong that people feared him, and there was a reason he went into
lock him away.
Yeah.
or
Like,
they locked him away. Yeah,
yeah. Which I
kind of
think,
like the leveler in the High Republic. Like
yeah.
Marcia and Rose like dad like locked him away.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, like that's what I feel like. I think they put him in like cryo sleep because he did. I would say maybe if we go 800 years back and it's the old Republic and everything, what's not to say he tried to throw out the knights? What's not to say he tried to overrule them because he was done with their shit and the knights
Yeah, that's
stealed him
true. Well,
away?
I'd be down
Like,
for that. I'd 100% down for that.
and obviously, Cal doesn't know what he unleashed, so it all depends on how Cal goes about the story and protect. Like, does he carry on and protect it? This person he's found, does he kind of lean into the dark powers this person could teach him as well? Like, it. We'll all wait and see till the game comes out, but I am beyond excited for this game.
100%. I'm ready for that, dude. I'm ready for that. I'll tell you what I am ready for as well, if you're down for it. I'm ready for next week if you want to do a little poddy talking about the last episode of Mando.
Oh yes, I'd actually be very much down to do a let's recap the last episode finale of Mandalorian. I'd be
Hell
down.
yeah. Let's do it. Let's do it.
Yeah. And then what I'm thinking as well, because obviously we have got our fantasy booking for WWE's draft live coming soon. But
We do.
also I'm thinking of trying to get one of me, you, and G, and we just talk D&D and our experiences of how we play, how you guys got into it, and kind of just an open platform to talk about like all things D&D, what people's ideas are of it, or like generalized questions, because that's a big thing I can do, and you guys have been loving playing it. So I'd love to get your inputs as players.
I kind of like that idea as well because I feel like I'd bring a different perspective as someone who's literally just started playing it. Like, someone
Exactly, yeah.
who doesn't really know that much about it, and someone who like has an idea of certain things, and like obviously like I don't know if it'd be completely correct, like, and it'd be cool to have that discussion on the pod.
Yeah. So that's kind of what we've got planned for some of the pop culture things. Is we'll do a recap a Mandalorian episode, then a come roll D&D dice with the DM type talk.
Dice with the DM. That's a cool little name for it, dude. I like
that. Well, I was thinking we might do dice rolls involved in it, or find a way to implement some like D&D actual play things into it. So it'll be fun. I'll find ways.
Hell yeah, man. I'm down for that.
But yeah,
right, guys, we've covered all Star Wars Celebration. That's been a nice little convo. I like it, man.
Yeah, man. I love how we went into theories as well, and like the great ideas of what we got going forward.
I know, like, if any of you are watching this post video, like, put it in the comments, put some theories of what you think's going to happen in the Ahsoka show. What are you expecting from Skeleton Crew and Star Wars Visions? Are we going to get a Mando season 4 after the finale? Are we going to see anything mad in the Bad Batch? And are we going to see him linked to the Mandoverse after Return of the Jedi? Where the hell is Ezra Bridger? What's Throne going to be doing to the whole crew? God damn it, is that Star Killer in the back to tanking Jedi Survivor? We have so much going on in Star Wars. And let me know what your favorite film that is coming out that has been announced. Put it all in the comments.
But yeah, thank you everyone for watching our first pop culture episode. Can't wait to do more of these. And stay tuned for when we do the wrestling podcast of doing our fantasy drafts, because WWE has announced their draft.
Can't wait for that, man. I actually cannot wait for it.
Thanks, everyone. Peace.
Peace out.
There we go. It is.